Well, welcome everybody to week 2 of our November online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center up here in Powell River, BC. And this month we're talking about time. Yeah, I know it's weird, but a lot of very educated people are doing a lot of research on this. And your taxpayer dollars are funding it, by the way. Anyway, this idea of time. So we've been talking about, last week we talked about this idea that addicts interpret time as the present. That the past and the future really have no meaning. Okay? The past is kind of understandable why it has no meaning, because how on earth is it going to help you achieve anything? And it's usually this huge source of guilt. So traditionally a lot of people in active addiction or in early recovery have very little interest in the past. Right? Because it really doesn't serve them any purpose. But equally, the future is a problem. Okay? Now, if you get a normal person, okay, a non-addict, I don't know if that makes them normal, but a non-addict. Okay, so let's say a typical non-addict, one of my usual examples, right, is they will say to themselves, okay, I want to be a forest ranger. Okay, so what does it mean to be a forest ranger? Well, I need a piece of paper from the University of British Columbia. Okay, that's going to take me 5 years of university education, and then I can graduate, get this piece of paper, and become a registered professional forester. So that's good. Then I can get a job, and I can get a good job and make some money, get a pension, buy a house. Then maybe I can get married, or along the way have kids, whatever. And so this is all someone thinking of the future, right? And willing to put in these steps in order to achieve some goal of the future, right? But think about what it's like for inactive addiction. I don't know too many addicts who would be willing to think that far ahead. They're much more interested in, oh, how do I get high today? Or next week, or whatever. What do I need to do right now in order to get high? Concepts of the future, like becoming the forester, really aren't going to mean very much, because frankly, I mean, I'm going to be spending a lot of money going to school, and that's money I could have used for drugs. Plus, if I'm spending all that money having to study for exams, that's a lot of, I really can't be loaded when I'm doing that, right? So this is, all this future stuff is a real interruption to living right now, because it's going to be too difficult for me to use drugs and yet think about the future and think about these goals and everything else. So the future becomes very dangerous. So that's some pressure on the person to live in the present. And there's another problem with the future, and this is one of the worst ones, is that things could go wrong. Even if you have this great plan, you can't really trust that it's going to work, and addicts don't like stuff like that, right? They are, as you all know, I affectionately call all addicts control freaks, right? They have to be able to control things. They want an absolute guarantee. So if I do this, then this is going to happen. Well, the future, you can't guarantee stuff, right? It's up in the open. Any number of things could come in to throw a wrench into the plan, right? But addicts, they don't like that. That's, by the way, all this, they talk about manipulation and lying and everything. That's all geared towards that, right? Because we don't like to leave things up to chance. Like, if I want to use drugs, like, I really want a secure plan in order to get the drugs and make sure I can use them and use them comfortably. I don't want stuff interrupting me. Like, I don't want my parents showing up at my door just when I'm about to, get stoned, right? That'll really screw things up. And I don't really want to go to my family reunion for 3 days, right, and hang around the family. I mean, God, geez, how am I going to get loaded, if that happens, right? So I like to control things. So I'll come up with some excuses or whatever, right? And maybe I've got a business meeting to go to, right? So that way I don't have to go to the family gathering. So this idea of control that's so essential to the addicts. And those of you who go to the 12-step program, this is one of the key pieces, right? We have to be the chief actor, and if everybody would just do what we told them to do, we'd be a lot happier. But the future doesn't allow you to do that. If you're paying attention to the future, I mean, things could really screw up, and you're not in control. So that's a second danger of the future, right? So that pressure as well tends to force the addict into living in the present. So the future is dangerous on the one hand, because you actually don't know what's going to happen. And on the other hand, if you live in the future, you actually pretty much need a plan, a mission, a goal. You got to be living to achieve something. So both those things make the future a very dangerous place to live. In any case, that's this week's online program, and we'll be back next week with another little clue to this whole time thing.